What if I told you the most dangerous man in the room isn't the smartest, not the strongest, not even the most experienced, but the one who believes, without a shadow of doubt, that he's already won, even when he's losing? That's not confidence. That's delusion. And in the game of power, delusion is divine. The kind that builds empires from ashes. The kind that breaks every rule, spits on failure, and rewrites destiny. It isn't grounded in reality. It bends reality. Machiavelli didn't call it delusional. He called it necessary. Because when the world doubts you, when logic screams you're finished, only delusion dares to answer with, "I'm just getting started." The world does not belong to the reasonable. It never has. It rewards the irrational, the obsessed, the ones who believe in their own legend before there's any reason to. The madmen, the outcasts, the fools, until they win. And then, suddenly, they're great. Machiavelli understood this brutal reality better than most. In The Prince, he didn't celebrate reason or moderation. He celebrated results. And results, more often than not, are built not on logic, but on delusion. Consider this. What separates a lunatic from a legend? Success. History is a graveyard of forgotten realists. Men who waited for the right moment, who played it safe, who stayed humble. But it immortalizes the deranged conquerors who marched into the storm with no armor but raw belief. Alexander the Great believed he was the son of Zeus, not metaphorically, literally. He wasn't content to be a king. He believed he was divine, and because he did, others did too. His soldiers fought like they were led by a god. His enemies trembled like they were facing one. And when you believe your blood is holy, retreat becomes blasphemy. You must win, because anything less would violate your entire identity. Napoleon crowned himself emperor, not in the name of France, not under God. He did it with his own hands. That wasn't arrogance. That was psychological warfare. A message. I don't need divine right. I am the right. Muhammad stood alone in Mecca with a message that would have gotten most men executed. Yet he declared it, loudly, repeatedly, in the face of tribal rage. Not because he had armies, but because he had belief. And eventually, belief became empire. These men didn't win because they had superior tools or resources. They won because they made their self-belief louder than the entire world's doubt. They refused to see reality the way others did. And here lies the truth Machiavelli hinted at, but dared not scream. In the game of power, the man with delusion often beats the man with reason. Because people don't follow logic. They don't even follow evidence. They follow certainty. Certainty is magnetic. It overrides the senses. When someone speaks with total conviction, even if they're wrong, most people fall in line. Not because the deluded man is right, but because no one else is willing to challenge a fire that burns that bright. Look around you. You'll see it everywhere. The most powerful entrepreneurs didn't wait until the plan was perfect. The most charismatic leaders didn't beg for acceptance. The most feared competitors didn't care whether the odds were fair. They acted with the intensity of someone who already won. That's the secret. Delusional belief creates momentum. It makes other people stop questioning and start adjusting. It bends the environment to your will, simply because you act like it already belongs to you. Most people think they need validation to feel powerful. The delusional man doesn't wait. He declares power. He becomes power. And here's the catch. The moment he believes it, others do too. Machiavelli would have called this dangerous, but necessary. A prince must be willing to create illusions, to shape perception, to walk the line between fiction and domination. But the most powerful illusion of all, the one you cast over yourself. You can lie to others. That's useful. But when you believe your own myth, when your blood burns with purpose that no one else can see, that's when you become unstoppable. You become immune to failure because you've already decided it doesn't exist. You become dangerous because nothing terrifies the masses like a man who cannot be shaken. And you become inevitable because you walk like destiny is dragging you forward. So laugh at the madman, mock the one who talks like he's already won. But when the dust settles, when the fearful have fallen, when the logical have hesitated, he's still standing because he didn't wait for proof. He became the proof, and in a world that rewards courage wrapped in delusion, that's the man who wins. Your enemy expects hesitation. He expects fear in your eyes, uncertainty in your voice, doubt in your next move. That's how most people live, carefully, politely, begging for permission to act like they matter. But then you walk in, eyes cold, posture unshaken, speaking your ambition like it's law. And everything changes, because you carry something far more dangerous than a sword. You carry delusion. And in the hands of someone who knows how to use it, delusion becomes a weapon of war. Machiavelli never used the word delusion, but he knew its power. He spoke of appearances, of perception, of fabricating the image of greatness, even when greatness wasn't there. Why? Because people don't react to the truth. They react to the presentation of truth. When you walk with delusional self-belief, you don't just change how people see you. You change how they see themselves in comparison to you. They feel smaller, weaker, less certain. They question their own reality, while you rewrite yours. Let's be clear. This isn't about confidence. Confidence still needs feedback. Delusional belief doesn't need applause or permission. It is its own fuel. And when you believe in yourself beyond reason, you commit to moves others wouldn't dare try. That's what makes it a weapon. It expands your aggression, your reach, your risk threshold. Your opponent calculates the rational limits of your behavior. But you're not rational anymore. You're possessed, and that makes you terrifying. Here's the Machiavellian truth. Power is never about being right. It's about being sure. Certainty scares people. Certainty commands respect, even when it's wrong. Because in a world of gray, people crave black and white. They crave someone who knows. So when you speak, don't offer suggestions. Make declarations. Don't say, I think I can win. Say, it's already mine. Don't say, maybe I'm good enough. Say, I was built for this. The goal is to dominate not through facts, but through conviction. And the best part, it spreads. Delusional belief is contagious. People begin to adopt your view simply because you seem so certain of it. Your narrative becomes their reality. That's why kings don't beg. That's why leaders don't ask. That's why Machiavelli said a prince must appear resolute even when he isn't. Because when you act like a lion, the sheep don't ask if you're pretending. They just step aside. Now here's where most people fail. They think delusion is about pretending. Number delusion only works when you live it. When your every move aligns with the identity you've invented. The delusional man doesn't just talk. He builds. He trains like a warrior before the battle exists. He walks into rooms like he's already conquered them. He signs his name like it belongs in history books. And people start to believe it because they don't want to be the fool who doubted a legend in the making. They'd rather be on your side, even if you're wrong, than against you, if there's any chance you're right. That's how delusion wins wars. Not by proving itself, but by projecting itself with such force that resistance collapses before the first blow. And here's the final twist. Delusional belief creates a reality that others are forced to participate in. You pull them into your world. You dictate the rules. You decide what's possible. Because power doesn't care what's true. It only cares who gets to define what's true. So use it. Walk like you cannot fail. Speak like your words shape the outcome. Think like defeat has already been erased from the timeline. And remember, to most people, you'll look like a lunatic. Until one day, you look like a prophet. Because you didn't wait for the world to agree with you. You made it submit. And that is the power of weaponized delusion. Delusional belief doesn't strike like lightning. It's not a gift. It's a construction project. Built brick by brick. In silence, in rage, in absolute defiance of what the world tells you is reasonable. You don't wait for it. You forge it in fire. If you're weak right now, if you're uncertain, if you're small, good. Because delusional belief is most powerful when it's born from nothing. That's what makes it terrifying. Not that it's loud, but that it shouldn't exist. And yet it does. So how do you build it? Let's break the illusion and reveal the structure behind the madness. Step 1. Kill permission. Most people never rise because they're still waiting. Waiting to be seen. Waiting to be validated. Waiting for someone to say, yes, you're allowed to go big. But delusion begins when you destroy that instinct. You don't need permission. You never did. Machiavelli's prince doesn't ask for blessings. He takes the throne. He manufactures the right to rule. So must you. Burn the idea that you must deserve power. Act as if it's already yours. Your enemies will catch up later. Step 2. Speak like a tyrant. Your words are your architecture. Every time you speak with weakness, you're building your own prison. The delusional man never says, I hope I can. Maybe if things go well, let's see what happens. No. He speaks prophecy. This will happen. I'm inevitable. It's already decided. People are trained to detect uncertainty in speech, but they're also trained to obey conviction. When you speak like your success is inevitable, others begin to conform. Not because they believe in you, but because you believe in yourself so violently that it leaves no room for doubt. Step 3. Move like you're untouchable. The body doesn't lie. Your movements either betray your fear or amplify your legend. Delusion must be physical. Hold your posture like a general. Make eye contact like a king receiving tribute. Walk with the rhythm of someone who owns the floor. This isn't performance. It's conditioning. You're rewiring your nervous system to respond like power is your natural state. And eventually, it will be. Step 4. Burn the evidence. The world will throw numbers, logic, and statistics at you. It will show you why you'll fail, why you're not ready, why you should back down. That's when you light the match. Delusion is not just belief. It's rebellion. You see the evidence and you say, irrelevant. You look at your bank account, your reputation, your failures, and you respond, none of it matters. Because your mind is already 5 years ahead, already seeing the crown, already hearing the applause. This step separates the imitators from the chosen. Most people pretend to believe. Few refuse to see any other outcome. That refusal, that blindness, that's where the monster is born. Step 5. Protect the myth at all costs. Once you've built your delusion, you must guard it like a fortress. Doubt will come, from others, from within. You will have days where your delusion cracks, and reality tries to crawl back in. Kill it. Delete the voice. Remove the influence. Silence the friend who means well, but reminds you to be realistic. You are not realistic. You are weaponized belief. And that myth you built, if you protect it long enough, it becomes the truth. The world bends. People adapt. Reality realigns. Not because you were right, but because you refused to be wrong. That's how empires rise. That's how nobodies become nightmares. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. But there's something greater than fear, something more intoxicating than love. Belief. When people start to believe in you, not because of who you are, but because of how certain you are, you win. And once your delusion is accepted by the crowd, it's no longer delusion. It's destiny. Let's be honest. Delusional self-belief can destroy you. It can ruin your finances, collapse your reputation, burn every bridge you spent years building. It can leave you alone, mocked, misunderstood, a madman screaming into the void. You'll be called arrogant, delusional, deluded, and maybe you are. But Machiavelli wouldn't flinch at this risk, because to him, power was never about safety. It was about results. And here's the brutal truth. Caution destroys more dreams than failure ever could. Play it safe, and you may survive. But you'll never dominate. You'll never lead. You'll never change the game. You'll be efficient, but invisible. Productive, but replaceable. Respected, but never feared. And the man who is never feared is a man who can be discarded. You think delusion is dangerous? Good. Because so is being realistic in a world ruled by predators. Let's examine the real threat, not delusional thinking, but limited thinking. The kind that says, stay humble. Be patient. Know your place. That's the thinking that keeps kings buried as peasants. It keeps assassins trapped in 9-to-5 routines. It turns gods into ghosts. Machiavelli would remind you, the world is not just. It does not reward the virtuous automatically. It rewards those who force it to notice them. And no one forces the world's attention more than the man who moves without fear of failure. The one who doesn't flinch when mocked. Who keeps building his legend even when the crowd throws stones. He knows something they don't. That reality bends to belief. But only after it resists first. Yes, there's danger in delusional self-belief. But that danger is a signal. You're stepping beyond the cage. People will warn you. They'll say, you're going too far. You're not being realistic. You're risking too much. Of course you are. You're trying to rule, not survive. You're trying to rewrite your future, not wait politely in line. And rewriting comes at a cost. But consider this. What is the cost of not believing in yourself beyond logic? What happens when you don't push past what's possible? When you don't burn the script society handed you? When you don't become the myth, you become ordinary. And in the world of power, ordinary is death. Because no one protects the man who blends in. No one fears the man who conforms. No one follows the man who doubts himself. They forget him. Quickly, quietly, and forever. So yes, delusion can backfire. But if you wield it with intelligence, with calculation, persistence, and cold control, it becomes more dangerous to your enemies than to you. That's the Machiavellian method. Use the madness, but never let it use you. Stay sharp, stay adaptive, but never surrender your grand belief. Because sometimes the delusional man does fail, but when he succeeds so brutally, so outrageously, so undeniably, that it rewrites everyone's understanding of what's possible. And the same people who laughed at you in the beginning, they'll kneel in the end. Not because you were lucky, but because you were relentless, and because your belief didn't bend under pressure. It crushed it. Machiavelli never feared failure. He feared obscurity. He feared being ruled by lesser men simply because they had the audacity to believe in themselves louder than anyone else. So here's the final calculation. Yes, delusion can destroy you, but it can also deify you. And if you're willing to walk that razor's edge, if you're willing to risk everything, then what begins as delusion becomes destiny. Delusion is not the end game. It's the ignition. It gets you moving when the world says stop. It gives you the eyes of a prophet and the will of a tyrant. But once the belief is built, once it's survived mockery, failure, and isolation, you must do something far more dangerous. You must turn your delusion into a myth. Because belief in yourself is powerful, but belief in your legend, that's immortality. Let the weak cling to motivation. Let the average man recite affirmations and hope for the best. You're past that now. You are not trying to feel good about yourself. You are trying to create a presence that alters every room you walk into. Machiavelli would call this reputation, but not in the way the masses understand it. Not be liked, not be respected, be feared, be untouchable, be inevitable. Your name must carry weight, even when you're not in the room, especially when you're not in the room. So how do you become the myth? Let's break it. Step 1. Live like you're already a legend. Every movement, every word, every silence. Treat it like the world is watching even when no one is. Not because you're faking, but because you're training your reality to obey your script. Legends don't practice humility. They move with entitlement because they've already decided they're chosen. When you act like a myth, people stop seeing the man. They only see the force. Step 2. Turn your wins into lore. Your victories, no matter how small, must be amplified. Never say, "I just got lucky," or "it wasn't a big deal." Burn that language. Instead say, "I planned it. I made it happen. I warned them." Every win is a chapter in your legend. Every obstacle is now part of the prophecy you were meant to overcome. People remember stories, not spreadsheets. So tell the story where you're always in control, always the architect, always 10 steps ahead. Let them fear how often you're right. Step 3. Guard the illusion with iron discipline. Now that your delusion has grown into a myth, it will be attacked. People will try to humble you. They'll test you. They'll say, "Let's see what happens when he loses." Let them. But never, never show the cracks. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must never show weakness, even if he bleeds behind the curtain. The myth is sacred. Once you show the world that you doubt yourself, it unravels. You are now playing a different game. You're not trying to win battles. You're trying to become untouchable. And that means every moment is performance. Not for the crowd, but for the legend you're becoming. Step 4. Let others carry the story. The final phase of power isn't when you speak your greatness. It's when others do it for you. Your myth must become viral. Something whispered in private rooms. Something passed, like prophecy. Something feared, envied, imitated. Never ignored. When people say your name with tension in their jaw. When rivals adjust their plans because of what you might do. When admirers try to mimic your posture, your silence, your aura. You've made it. Not because you're loud, but because your presence lingers after you're gone. And that presence, that's the final form of delusional self-belief. Not madness, not blind hope, but a manufactured divinity, where the man and the myth merge, and the world forgets which came first. Machiavelli's verdict. He would have smiled at the madness, applauded the audacity, and whispered what cowards are too afraid to admit. He who controls the illusion controls the world. Delusional self-belief is not self-help. It is self-crowning. It is the declaration, I am not waiting for history to decide who I am. I will write it myself. And once you've written it long enough, once you've bled, burned, and built, even the world must surrender. Because it can mock a man, it can delay a king, it can crucify a prophet, but it cannot kill a myth. Let's trace the path, the forbidden path of the man who believes in himself so violently that reality has no choice but to surrender. This isn't about confidence. It isn't about fake positivity or motivation. It's about building a fire inside you so blinding that the world burns before it questions you again. The world doesn't remember the careful. It remembers the madman who declared victory before the war began, the one who believed he was chosen long before anyone agreed. They laughed, they called him arrogant, but while they hesitated, he conquered. Delusional belief is more than madness. It's a weapon. Speak with conviction and you silence logic. Move with certainty and people forget your flaws. Project the future, and they mistake it for prophecy. That's the power. You bend minds not with proof, but with pressure. You control rooms not with facts, but with force. But belief must be built. It starts in the shadows. When you kill the need for permission, when you speak as if your words shape outcomes, when you move like you're already a king, when you ignore the evidence and declare, "I've already won." You'll be tested. The world will push back. They'll remind you of your place, tell you to be realistic, warn you of the dangers. They're right. There is danger. You might fall. You might lose. You might be ridiculed, outcast, abandoned. But the real danger is this: playing it safe, living invisible, dying forgettable. Because no one fears a man who doubts himself. No one follows a man who waits for proof. But they will follow a myth. That's the final evolution of belief. When it stops being internal and becomes external law. You don't just believe anymore. You are the belief. Your name enters the room before you do. People speak about you in hushed tones. They wonder what you'll do next. Not because you've proven it, but because your presence feels inevitable. Your reputation becomes prophecy. Your every move, calculated theater. Your silence, a weapon. Your existence, a warning. You've crossed the line. No longer human, now legend. And once your delusion has survived long enough, it's no longer delusion. It's destiny. Outro. If you're done playing small, if you're ready to move like your name belongs in history books, then you already know what to do. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel and step deeper into the brutal truths they never teach. Because here, we don't chase power. We become it.